Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the Louis Chevrolet Chrono-Tour Classic. No, it doesn't look very classic looking, but that's the name of this particular version of the Chrono-Tour, which comes in a few other models that have different colors. The Classic is the most subdued with its monochromatic black and white, but again, it is anything but a classic watch in terms of the design. And I'm just showing you various angles of the case here, and you can see that indeed there's a lot of elements to this watch that just don't really look like a lot of others when it comes to these interesting lug structures, the crown guard. There's things which are actually borrowed from other things here and there, but overall I think they came up with a really modern looking design that's quite legible. When I first heard about the Chrono-Tour, I have to say I was a little bit skeptical that it was something that the brand could pull off pretty well. It does have a relatively affordable price point, given the type of watch this is, with all of its different unique parts and pretty high-grade materials. And I think they've sort of come off with something quite cool. It's not for everyone. The brand Louis Chevrolet actually is related to the car company Chevrolet. Louis Chevrolet was a Swiss immigrant who went to America and spent a lot of time in early auto racing and was the namesake of the American car company Chevrolet. And of course, the car company is very open about its history and clear, and the brand Louis Chevrolet and the car company have participated in some things together. I wouldn't say they've made watches for Chevrolet automobiles, but this is the same Chevrolet. So if you are the type of person who has a fondness for Chevrolet automobiles, then this type of watch brand might be even more interesting for you. If this design of the Chrono-Tour is a little bit too avant-garde for you, you should definitely check out some of the things that the Louis Chevrolet watch company has made in the past. Okay, back to the Chrono-Tour, because this represents the Louis Chevrolet of today, of 2018. The watch is 44 millimeters wide, well the case is, but it's going to wear a little bit bigger, especially because you have this large crown structure and this exaggerated system with the lugs. These look like they articulate, they don't, it's just sort of for style, but you can see there on my relatively small wrist, this watch does look quite big. The inner case itself reminds me an awful lot of iChopod, and that's because it has sort of this pebble shape where the crystal, which is domed, integrates very well with the bezel, and it has this kind of bowl look. So again, you have this nice bowl shape with this interesting lug system. The crown system here, it's actually quite simple. It looks like there's some wild thing going on here, but in reality, these two rods are simply connected. So when you push up the crown, which is up here, when it's out, push out the crown, you can see how it opens up a little bit, and now I'm pushing it back. So it works pretty well. These are the chronograph pushers. Inside the watch is a Swiss Eta Valjoux 7750 automatic, and you can see it through the case back there. Nice automobile wheel style automatic rotor. Looks a little similar to some of the rotors that you'll see on some of the Porsche design watches, but it's not bad. And I think that they did a good job of choosing one of the more decorated, I think it might be the elaborate version of the 7750. So what does that mean? You have some perlage, you have some blued screws. It's just a little bit more of an upgraded look. And there are watches at a very similar price point that have an undecorated movement inside of it, and that's a shame. Let's talk about legibility, which is probably one of the major concerns anyone has with a watch that is this complicated from a dial construction standpoint. There's a lot of layers here, and there's a lot of things going on. The chronograph is currently activated, and what you'll notice is that the chronograph is a double hand. So half of it is black and half of it is white, and it just sort of adds a little bit more of an interesting character. Rather than hands for the minutes and the hours of the chronograph, you can see the minutes up here and the hours down here. So rather than a hand, what the brand has done is chosen discs. So Louis Chevrolet created these discs with the arrows for the indicator here and here. It makes reading it slightly different than you might expect, but I think the overall outcome is quite nicely done. The date you can see here through this opening, so you can see the entire date disc, and you read it right here at the 9 o'clock position. Subsidiary seconds hand is slightly bigger, so I think it's actually quite nice looking, and you'll agree that the properly sized hands, even though they're partially skeletonized, there is a decent amount of legibility. So I wouldn't say that reading this watch is as difficult as at least I would have assumed. The watch comes with two straps. There's this matte leather strap that has sort of an alligator print style look, And there's another strap that I haven't put on yet, but I like a little bit more. And it's a rubber strap, and it's got this interesting texture, as you can see here. It's got it on both ends. And in order to put the strap on, you'll have to take everything off, including the deployant hardware. The deployant's fine. I found that with this strap being so long, at least for my wrists, I would have preferred a more traditional style buckle, like an Ardian style buckle that just has like a little tongue. And buckles like this, again, are great, but if you have a slightly bigger wrist. So I have it here on the smallest setting, and what I would probably do is include a different strap, or make another hole. You can say I can put my finger in there. So just something to know if you have smaller wrists. But again, the ability to wear this watch on a smaller strap is as easy as changing the strap out. Again, the watch is 44 millimeters wide, but it wears larger. I don't have the thickness measurement in front of me, but I will include that in the written review. The case is pretty sporty. It has a sapphire crystal, which is AR coated atop. It's water resistant to 100 meters. And so I think that's pretty much what you're going to need for the vast majority of activities. And I think that's sort of what people expect at this price point. So what is the price point for a watch like this? Again, it's a nice steel construction, all custom parts, nice grade Swiss automatic chronograph movement. So the price in USD is $2,198. That's a little bit random. It's based upon the Swiss franc price of 1,855 Swiss francs. So for basically $2,200, you have a lot of custom parts. You have a nicely designed watch. Is it entirely original? It's pretty original. There's definitely things that remind you of other watches. For example, this structure here is kind of similar to how it is on some ball watches, even though it doesn't open up. Like I said, the case reminds me of Icopod. But you know what? These are pretty nerdy nuances, meaning you really need to know watches to pick up on these things. And again, it doesn't feel like a copy of any of those. So I think that Louis Chevrolet did a good job of taking the design in its own direction. What is sort of the DNA of this watch? What is the story behind it? I think that's something they have yet to flesh out, right? I think they just sort of wanted to come up with a really neat design and see how it does. It would benefit definitely from having a little bit more branding behind it in terms of what are they intending. I'd like to know a little bit more about the background of this, but overall, it's a pretty cool design. You can check out the other colors. Again, this is a Louis Chevrolet Chrono-Tour Classic, and the price is $2,198. You can see the full review on aBlogtoWatch. Thanks.